scared.
Yeah. Well, it's a little scary when you look out here.
They're all friends.
Okay, good. So she had a trip to Kenya that she participated in, and I'm excited for her to share her story about how God convinced her that she needed to go, and then the things that she experienced while she was there. So we'll turn it over to you, Lindsay, and we're excited to hear from you.
Thank you. Hello, friends. My name is Lindsay Schaffer. I am Brad Schaffer's daughter. Hi, Daddy. I'm not going to make him stand up. It'll embarrass him. So as Pastor Jim just told you, I went to Kenya this summer, the last 2 weeks of June. And let's see, how do I start this? Oh, there we go. The amazing technical people up there. The last 2 weeks in June, I went to Kenya. And it all started this last spring. I was going to my college group for church, and some of the people who lead the group presented the opportunity to go on a medical missions trip to the tiny little village of Doombury and Riafi in Kenya. And they're about an hour away from Nairobi. If you know anything about Kenyan geography, it's more towards the ocean. It's on the edge of Africa. And it's a little bit cooler there. I know we all think of Africa as the desert and the savanna and lions and tigers, but it's actually quite green and forested. So anyway, these people made a presentation at my college group to go to Kenya, and I had never gone abroad before. I'd never even considered it. Lindsay Schaffer does not leave the country. That's just not my cup of tea. But the word pharmacy kept popping up in the presentation. They needed people to run the pharmacy. And what do you know, I'm in my first year of pharmacy school, and I had asked God what I was supposed to be doing with a pharmacy degree. And so I ignored it for a couple weeks, but I kept getting emails from my leaders asking me if I wanted to go. So I finally started talking to God about it, and I told him, okay, Lord, if you want me to go, give me this $200 deposit. And I didn't think it would come. I just threw it out there. I put my fleece on the ground, and I put God to the test. And about a week later, I got a $400 check in the mail, and he gave me twice what I needed. And so from then on, I knew I was going to Africa, which was so strange to think about leaving the country, going to a third world place, completely out of my context. There's nothing you can depend on. It's just you and God and Africa. And so we slowly started collecting money for the trip. The Lord provided more than I needed. I was able to help out some of my teammates because God was so good with funding. And we started out and went to Africa. We went with an organization called Expansion International. They're based out of Boise, Idaho, and they are in partnership with Eagle Nazarene Church, which is also based in Boise. And it's a fantastic group of people. They have found a group of people in Kenya that need the gospel. They need help. They are starving and dying. And this team of people has come in, and as you can see on the first picture up here, they have built a permanent medical clinic, and it is now fully self-sustaining, staffed completely by Kenyan staff, nurses, doctors. They run it themselves, and this is where we actually stayed. There's a dormitory for missionaries up there. And it's actually a really beautiful building. We were surprised to see how gorgeous it was compared to the surroundings. Let's see here. And So the first morning of our missions trip, we drove to a nearby town called Reify, to a dirty field, and we set up tents, and we started a free medical clinic. And let's see, there we go. So these are all our supplies that we flew over. It's all our medicine, all of our equipment, needles, syringes, gloves, all that kind of thing. Getting that through customs was a little bit difficult, and it was raining while we were setting up, so everything was covered in a layer of that red Kenyan clay. It was very muddy. We had to wash everything. That's my roommate Madison there, trying to wash things with a dirty rag. And there's one of the tent structures. As you can see on the far end, they've used a branch for one of the poles. It's all cobbled together, and they make do in the most amazing ways. And this is the pharmacy. This is the entrance to the pharmacy. And this was my pharmacy shelf. It was a low table covered with all kinds of basic drugs. And when I first heard that I was going to be in charge of the pharmacy, I panicked because I was not ready to do that at all. I didn't think I was capable. I didn't think I knew enough. But the Lord provided. He provided education for me throughout the year before I went to Kenya, and He provided people to help along the way. There's a picture of us with all the kids one day. So many children. They're all beautiful. We started out every single day with prayer, several times. And so over the 2 weeks of medical clinic that we did, we served over 1,000 people, not counting the children. And we turned away more than that. There just was not enough time and resources to serve everybody who came. People walked for days to come to this clinic because they needed it so badly. And so we handed out thousands of ibuprofens. We handed out so much medicine, but the most important thing that we did was give these people living water and the bread of life that will last. We shared the gospel with everybody who came through the clinic. We prayed with every single patient who would let us, and we saw over 200 people saved in our tents. And that's not counting all the kids that we saw in children's ministry. The kids over there they don't know what they're living in. And the schools don't have enough money to feed the children. The school elders are feeding them with their own food. They're barely making it, but they have an incredible faith in the Lord. They trust Him to get them through every single day, and you will never find someone complaining about the fact that the road is too bouncy or ruddy, as you see there. You'll never see someone complaining about how dirty their house is, because the hand of God is able, and they know that, and they trust in that and believe in that. We saw drunkards completely change their ways, want to know Jesus. And being a drunkard in the Kenyan culture is synonymous with being socially ostracized. If you're a drunkard, everything else falls apart. You are in poverty, you have no family, no money at all. And a man came in, and he heard about what alcohol was doing to his body from our doctors. And when he went into the prayer room, he just said straight out, "I want to know Jesus." And he was completely changed and transformed, and it was beautiful to see. And so many cases like that happened throughout people who are positive for HIV and AIDS finally knew that they needed Jesus, and it was beautiful to see. And one of the great things about sharing the gospel in Kenya is that people know what you mean when you ask, do you know Jesus? They're very open to it. It's not like America at all in that sense. You can go up to a random person and say, hello, do you know Jesus? And they will say, why, yes, I do. Praise God. And it's completely open. Or they'll say, no, I don't really have any desire to know Jesus. But if you want to share the gospel with them, they'll listen to you. And it's just ripe for revolution and spreading the word. So it was pretty fun to be able to just open a conversation with somebody. And another amazing thing was that God did all the prep work for our team. Here's a picture of our whole team with some of our Kenyan partners, Expansion International partners with the church in Kenya. We worked with about 20 pastors as translators. Many of them were converts later in life themselves. Just beautiful stories, all of these people. So one day when we weren't doing clinic, we visited another project that Expansion International has taken on, and that is the Kiani people. And these people are an indigenous people. I'll go back a little bit right here. They're an indigenous people who in the late 1990s were chased out of their homes because of tribal violence. And they moved to a new settlement where their livelihood was given to them by the government. They were allowed to farm small plots of land, harvest firewood, make a subsistence living. And then in 2000, a new government was installed, and they decided that they didn't want to assist the Kiani people any longer. So they evicted everyone from their homes, burned their homes, and ran them off. So for a period of time, these people were living on the side of the highway, getting what they could from working in the big city. They were barely making it. And then the government decided to move them up to the mountains, into the forest. It would be like us sending a people to North Idaho and forgetting about them. They're called the forgotten people in Kenya, but they are not forgotten because God has helped us and Expansion International to remember them. This is a view of the refugee camp. You can see the tops of the roofs beyond the trees right there. This is one of the roads through the camp. The government gave each family a 13 by 13 foot space on which to build a bamboo house. And they are not allowed to expand those houses. They are not allowed to harvest firewood. They're not allowed to have farms with animals. They're not allowed to grow produce. They have to leave to work. And up until expansion came in, they were drinking extremely dirty water. And so the organization heard about these people, and they came in and started to give them water filters. I know that picture's awful. It's dark in those houses, but that is a filtration water system that gets all the bacteria, all the pathogens out, and gives clean water to these people. There's 4,000 people in the camp and about 110 water filters. So this is their cooking fire. They mostly subsist on a corn mush, meat when they can get it. The elderly are provided for by their families, and sometimes not at all. But they're happy. They're so happy because they have the Lord. And signs like that are everywhere. God gives. We had a worship session with them, and they were so joyful. This is their water source. It's a stream that filters through grazing land. That's where they gather their water from. These are some of the children. One or two attach themselves to you and they don't let go, which is great. They're adorable. They're worth it. These are the elders of the camp who kind of make decisions and talk to the government. And this is our worship service. Everybody turned out for it. They dance and sing and beat the drums, and they just make a joyful noise to the Lord. And so our future vision for these people is to acquire some land from the Kenyan government, which is in the works. It's been delayed a few times, and help the people build their own homes, their own communities, and get them started on farming and animal husbandry that they can sustain themselves. So that's the vision for these people who love the Lord. And we also got to go on safari, which is a little bit more fun. This is Lake Nakuru. It's known for its flamingos. You can kind of see a little bit of that in the background. It was about to storm massively, so it's kind of dark. Water buffalo. Giant male lion on a rock, like Lion King. It's about 15 feet away from our van. We had to stop for herds of giraffe crossing the road. That was an experience. And then, I'm not sure if you can see the text on the side of that building, but it says 3-day prophetic explosion, and that's just a little bakery. And the people of Kenya are so excited about the Lord that they have things like a 3-day prophetic explosion. So God went before us and prepared the way. This is a waiting line for the clinic. As you can see, it was full every single morning. People waited all day to get medical service. This is Stella. She's one of the ways that God provided for me in the pharmacy. She's a Kenyan pharmacy technician. She knows all the international names for the drugs. She was so helpful and so sweet. And this is the teardown. We're starting to move out, and we're leaving Kenya at this point, but we've given these people something that will last. So throughout this process, God changed my heart from a heart that absolutely refused to go and do radical things for him to a heart that said, okay, Lord, I will go. And I didn't do that on my own. He did it. And I love that. I love that God can change our hearts. And through changing my heart and the hearts of the people on our team, he made a lasting impact on the Kenyan people, and he continues to do so. And one more area that I was extremely resistant in was sharing my testimony, because I got saved when I was 6. And my parents brought me up in the Christian way, and I didn't think I had much of a testimony. But if you think that about yourself because you were brought up as a Christian, you do have a testimony, because God saved you, and that's beautiful in and of itself. The Lord loves you, and he saved you from absolute destruction. And so the children's ministry leader asked me to share my testimony with about 400 third graders, Kenyan third graders, on a children's ministry day. And I said no. I absolutely refused. I didn't want to do that. And she and God slowly worked on me, and I was able to give a simple testimony that I felt like something was missing in my heart, and Jesus filled it up. And he is all I need. And I got to share that with those kids. And I hope it made it through the translator, okay? Pastor Paul was translating, and sometimes he got behind a little bit, so I'm not quite sure. But just know that the Lord can use you in ways that you didn't think he could. And because our God is great, and our God is good all the time. And so I encourage you to let him change you so that he can change the world more. Thank you.